UNC places a lot of value on international experiences, so students will have a more well-rounded view of the world. During a recent trip to Argentina, I met members of a group fighting for human rights, a fight few people in the U.S. know anything about. November 28, 1978 was the last day this woman, Buscarita Roa, saw her son and his wife. She spent the next 22 years searching for their daughter, Claudia, Roa's granddaughter.
Since then, it's been 9 years now. We've had restitution and a beautiful reestablishment of our relationship.
Roa was able to find her granddaughter thanks to the work of Las Abuelas de Plaza de Mayo. These women are known for their tireless search for the grandchildren they lost during Argentina's military dictatorship from 1976 to 1983. It was during this time that the government kidnapped, tortured, and murdered 30,000 people for their anti-government activities. 500 of those were pregnant women. Estela de Carlado, the president of Las Abuelas, has been with the organization since it began in 1977. The death squads kidnapped and later murdered Carlado's pregnant daughter, Laura. The military gave her baby and many others to couples sympathetic to the regime. Carlado is still searching for the son Laura had in captivity.
Robbing babies is a crime, a grave crime of humanity. Time doesn't solve it.
For Roa, finding her granddaughter eased the pain caused by the death of her son and his wife.
It was a great joy to find my granddaughter, but I also had to wait a long time for my granddaughter to draw closer to me until we could hug and talk.
In the early years, the Abuelas sought out the grandchildren using relatives' DNA. Today, these grandchildren often realize themselves that the puzzle pieces of their lives just don't quite fit, so they come to Las Abuelas for answers. 2008 was the best year the organization has seen so far, with 8 recoveries. And although the Abuelas themselves are aging, they expect their work to continue through their children and grandchildren. It's exciting each time the group finds another grandchild, especially for the grandmother.
Para la abuela es un momento de una emoción tremenda.
For the grandma, it's a moment of tremendous excitement because she's found what she's been looking for so many years, and furthermore, they look like her son or daughter.
Carlado has yet to experience that personally, but hope keeps her going. Although Roa found her granddaughter, she continues to help others find that missing part of their lives.
They helped me find my granddaughter, and it's only right that I help those grandmothers who haven't found their grandchildren.
These 2 women work day after day to help others like them seek restitution for their children who were so cruelly erased from their lives and find the grandchildren some of them have never seen. Next week, we'll meet a city councilman in Buenos Aires who discovered at age 25 that his whole life up to that point had been a lie. Now we continue our series about the work of Las Abuelas, a group in Argentina dedicated to finding as many as 500 babies stolen during the country's dirty war in the 70s and 80s. Tonight, we meet one of the found grandchildren. Juan Cabandia was born in a prison cell 31 years ago. Juan's parents, Damian and Alicia, were among the 30,000 people seized by the government during Argentina's military dictatorship. The 17-year-old Alicia was pregnant with Juan. 20 days after he was born, soldiers took Juan from his mother, who he would never see again.
There are no traces of my mom, the same as every pregnant woman and most of the people who went through that detention center. She's disappeared, the same as my dad.
Here inside one of the main secret detention centers, which Argentines refer to as ESMA, Juan's mother, along with up to 5,000 others, were detainees during the 7.5 years of the military dictatorship. A police officer and his wife illegally adopted Juan. The people involved in the disappearance and probable death of his biological parents were the ones he'd call mom and dad for the next 26 years.
Y además yo tenía durante esos años, que fueron 26 años que yo viví con una identidad falsa.
During those 26 years in which I lived with a false identity, I had many uncertainties, emotional instabilities, and at some point I started to try and figure out why I was so anguished, so depressed, so emotionally unstable.
That's when Juan came to Las Abuelas de Plaza de Mayo, a group dedicated to helping Juan and others like him find their true identities. A DNA test would change his life forever. Estela de Carlotto is the president of Las Abuelas and says it's not easy to learn the life you've known is a lie.
La respuesta del niño, cuando era pequeño, era de dolor, de shock.
The response of the child when they were young is of pain, shock, when they found out that their mother and father were not their real parents, that they had other parents, that they had another grandmother looking for them.
For Juliana Garcia, the search has been to find her missing sister. Juliana was just 3 when the death squads killed her father and took her pregnant mother. In February, the search was finally over.
Me tocó, y la encontré.
I found her. I still can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's wonderful.
Juan can relate to the joy Juliana feels. It's been 5 years since he met his real family for the first time and says there's such relief in having finally found the truth.
Y además de la felicidad por haber encontrado mi verdad.
Ultimately, if I hadn't found it, I would still be in a sea of doubt, of uncertainty. So it was an extra happy moment to know my origins, the triumph of the truth, and to meet my family.
Now a city councilman in Buenos Aires, Juan has created a new life for himself. He no longer associates with what he refers to as his fake parents and refuses to even speak the name they gave him. Next week, we'll meet a recent UNC grad who until 2 years ago knew nothing about the Dirty War's impact on her family. Tonight, the conclusion of our 3-part series about the effects of Argentina's dirty war on our generation. Not just young adults in that country, but also one recent UNC grad whose personal journey of discovery started as part of a study abroad experience. Her exposure to this book opened Karina Cortiz's eyes to a family history she had never known.
This is my family that I learned about in books.
In the pages of this book, she read the story of the death of her mother's uncle.
Carlos Lizaso, murdered June 6, 1956.
Piece by piece, Cortiz learned the effects Argentina's dirty war had on her family.
You learn about it, and it's like fascinating.
Cortiz learned of the 30,000 people the Argentine government took captive, tortured, and in many cases murdered during the military dictatorship from 1976 to 1983.
You're putting together pieces, and then it gets to the point where you just are wallowing in these atrocities and in the idea of torture. And, you can only sit in that for so long before you have to take a step forward.
Cortiz then began to write her own story. A story revealing the impact of the discovery on her life. She put on a play documenting the experiences of her mom, her aunt, and their cousin during the dictatorship. Cortiz's director, Joseph Meckel, says the story is one few people in the U.S. know anything about, but it's something many can connect with.
I think getting that sort of relationship to history is and this personal way of getting there is a very powerful way of learning about it.
In Argentina, the culture of silence surrounding the topic is slowly fading away. From school trips to the prison where many captives were held, to tours of the city square,
while the militaries were kidnapping people and murdering people,
where mothers would protest demanding information about their children who had disappeared. Cortiz says it's important that discussions about the issue lead to action.
What are you going to do about it? What are we going to do to help push this forward and to make it so that it won't happen again? I don't think that you can just push it aside and not talk about it.
So Cortiz has decided to talk about it, to bring attention to a subject that affected so many lives, to address the deeper issues that connect the story to all of us, and to share her personal journey of discovery. Karina recently moved to Shanghai, China, but will continue her research from there. She also plans on return visits to Buenos Aires to learn more about her family and to lend her support to Las Abuelas.